Senator Bill Cassidy. Okay, Republican Senator Bill Cassidy of Louisiana thinks you are not very intelligent. He wants to pseudo-privatize Social Security with this plan of keeping a little bit of money aside and investing in the stock market. I'll tell you what that means on the other side. Listen to what he has to say, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Who on the debate stage on Wednesday night, of the other Republican alternatives to Donald Trump, do you think could be a leader on this issue that you raised, Social Security?
Well, at least some of them are talking about it. Frankly, I have a different approach than they, but at least they're talking about it. The first thing is to acknowledge that there's an issue. Now, the reason I hesitate on that is that the program I put forward, and again had 7 Republicans and 7 Democratic senators supporting, was to create a fund separate from Social Security, no Social Security dollars, to invest in the U.S. economy and allow it to grow over time. You do that, you can take care of 70% of the shortfall, and you can make sure that there's no cuts for people currently receiving social. We also put in work incentives, we repealed WEP and GPO, and we also put in poverty alleviation provisions. President Biden could have endorsed it. Instead, he's decided to be political and make this an issue. It should be an issue, but it should be an issue of fixing it, and so far he's not come up with a credible plan.
Look, what Senator Bill Cassidy is talking about it's a fraud. It's a manner of giving a lot of money to the Wall Street class. I need you to understand this, and I want you to listen, please, in detail. This is a fraud on you. This is a fraud on all of us, on Americans, and on Social Security. Let's explain what he's trying to say. What he's trying to say is this: oh, we're going to leave Social Security the way it is right now, but we want to create another fund that will invest in America, in the stock market in America. And what we are going to do then is the appreciation from that investment in America will be enough to cover the Social Security shortfall. That's crap. First of all, in any given period, you can have a downfall where that particular fund goes negative. And as much as the stock market has an appreciation rate of approximately 7% or so per year, which is what he's hoping the aggregate is going to be. But the second thing, having this massive governmental investment into the stock market is going to do is inflate prices very high. A lot of other stocks that would have otherwise been rising at 7% or so, they're going to zoom up because there's going to be a lot of dollars chasing the stocks that are already there, or whatever new stocks that come into play, whatever funds that are created. That is going to appreciate those stocks. A lot of rich people are going to get filthy richer. All those, remember, 90% of all stocks belong to something like under 5% of all Americans, something to that effect. I could have the numbers off by a little bit, but most stocks are owned by very few. They are going to make a killing if the government somehow starts to invest in the stock market. But it gets worse than that. The reason it gets worse than that is the brokers are going to make free money, whether the stock goes up or down. Again, they're investing for the government. We're going to have all these market makers that are going to make a ton of money. They think you're stupid. They think you don't understand this stuff. Let's continue further. Now, what does that do? It means we got an inflated stock market that is based on nothing. In other words, the only reason the prices of these stocks are going to go up is because there's an influx of buyers, meaning the biggest buyer on the planet, the United States government. And what else does that mean? When it's time for a crash, because it's based on nothing, then we suffer the consequences. Let me give a better solution. What folks don't understand is that we have something known as a sovereign currency. We also have what's known as a slack in our entire economy, which means we can print money. Don't let them fool you. When the former Vice President Cheney said deficit doesn't matter, to some extent, he's right. As economist Stephanie Kelton, I think is her name, who has pointed out within her modern monetary theory, which has proven factual, not only based on the amount of trillions that was placed into the market by Biden, started by Trump, but then by Biden, the trillions that were thrown into the marketplace, and we got 9% inflation, of which more than 50% of that inflation was price gouging. In other words, corporate greed, not supply chain issues or whatever. Absent the supply chain issues and all these other things, imagine throwing all that money into our economy would have not created any substantive inflation. So if you want to know how we solve Social Security, go ahead and sell bonds. Sell bonds. It's better than trying to invest into the market. We can inflate our dollar. Go ahead and sell bonds. Sell bonds to pay for the insurance. If you to put it bluntly, you can just print the money. People don't understand that we don't operate like credit cards when you have a sovereign currency. As long as there is enough manufacturing in your economy, as long as are enough bodies in your economy to work, then put in more cash into that economy, and employing more will not generate inflation. And we have the evidence of that. The 9% inflation was not caused because we had more money in the economy. It was caused because corporations decided, since there's more money in the economy, we can charge more for things, even if there are no shortages. People, I wish. You know why our schools are so terrible? You know why they don't want you to learn? They don't want you to learn economics 101. They don't want you to learn how the money supply actually expands. They don't want you to learn any of this because they can snow you and have you do things like, oh, let's go ahead and have the government invest in the stock market. And now there's free money for the top 10% or the top 5% or the top 1%. Let's just go ahead and buy stocks and all those market makers get rich. And you know what? You just get your measly Social Security check while other people's profit on it. All we need to do is pay the darn Social Security bill, increase the amount we pay for Social Security. Economic activity in the country will take care of it because we don't have shortages and we have a sovereign currency. If you want to get into more of that, you can drop me a line at info@politicsdoneright.com. We can have this conversation. If any economist or anyone wants to discuss this issue at length, we can set up an interview so that we can do that. What I'm saying here is not just talk. I'm ready to defend it, and I'm sure Professor Richard Wolff, as well as Stephanie Skelton, would be more than happy to discuss this issue in detail and use the evidence that we have from our economy, the amount of money we've thrown into the economy relative to what we got in inflation and why we got inflation. We can prove what I'm saying. And you just have to take the word of one Republican, and that is Cheney. Deficit doesn't matter, but I have to make it a little bit clearer. Deficit doesn't matter if you have the necessary productivity in your economy, meaning there's no shortages of products and there are no shortages of labor, then there's no reason to have inflation. We can have the necessary controls to prevent that from occurring. Do not listen to any of these guys that are talking about messing with your Social Security and trying to invest in the market to ensure that you're paid. Because when it crashed, these same Republicans who always try to take away will then say, well, the market crashed, so at this point in time, we have to reduce your payments. Never believe what they say. Just trust the math. Trust the math. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number 1, subscribe to our channel, and number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.